Hello, welcome back. So let's have a look at the IEO coins. So we'll start with Bitcoin, just to see exactly where we are and what's likely to happen. So my video yesterday, we put this little box in. This here is going to be our support. We did expect to see it break out of this wedge, which we have now broken out of. We broke out to the downside. We found a bounce at the top of the support level that we popped in yesterday, not really too much of a surprise that that bounce took place, because that was where the 50-day close is roughly hanging around that area. If this were to be a bit deeper, we'd probably find a bounce at the bottom area of it, which is around 9,735. And the reason for that was because this was the largest bounce that we had at the deepest level of pullback the last time this area was tested. So it was a significant bounce from there, so we did expect to see a significant bounce from here. This bounce, however, looks a little weaker than that. You could say that again. It certainly does look weaker, so I would expect this area to be tested again. On this occasion, when we're looking at this now in comparison to where we were here, the moving averages were nicely sloped up, and we found our support on the top of them, rode them back up, but peaked when we reached 13,150 again, and came back down again. And now the sentiment would certainly start to change as we see the moving averages starting to bend down, suggesting a reversal in trend. And the only one that's holding, well, I say this, there's not the only one, but the main ones that are still left that are not facing down is the 50-day close, where we bounced from here, and also the 200 EMA, which is all the way down here. So let's hope that this one does hold, because if it doesn't, then we will start to find ourselves deeper and deeper and deeper into this area, lowest I would imagine would be a bounce from this 200 EMA. It would certainly cause a huge bounce around there. So we're unlikely to go beneath 7,000, I would say, unlikely to go beneath 7,250. Be the deepest correction we're likely to see with Bitcoin. But at the moment, it's still early days. We did find a bounce, so we'll see how this bounce takes us. But even though it was strong, it's not strong enough. I think this area is going to be tested again, perhaps not today, but over the next week, and this area will be broken, and then we will find ourselves coming down in incremental areas, and maybe, but unlikely, but maybe find our way back down here before we start to recover. Right, so let's have a look at some of these IEO coins for what they're worth, which is not a great deal at the moment. They're suffering very hard. So we're looking at Matic here, first of all, on the Bitcoin pairing. So realistically, when you look at it like this with Bitcoin, it looks like it. I wouldn't say it's found an actual bottom, but it's leveling out at a certain area. Okay, so just to recap, if you've not watched my previous videos, we found a bounce here at 120 satoshis, and that was when Bitcoin was worth a lot more. So 120 satoshis was it's technically easier to bounce from this area back then. One of the reasons this bounced is because at the end of the month, around here, we had alpha mainnet release, as well as other releases from Matic, and you could see the anticipation of that release, because everybody knew it was going to come out, caused this rise in price. But it wasn't enough, and we found our way coming back down again, testing the 120 satoshis, breaking it, and actually finding a new low at 112. So since this has happened, Bitcoin has fallen, and it's essentially fallen a little faster than Matic, causing the rise in Satoshi value. So it looks like it's recovering, but it's really not really recovering when you look at the state of the tether pairing. Tether pairing is still coming down. It still wants to come down, so it's still got a little lower to go. There's no real reason to say that this is going to start to recover anytime soon, and not significantly. It will need a reversal of the Bitcoin dominance and the spark of an alt season for this one to really start to pick up again. However, one thing I would always say when looking at Matic, and any coin really, is you've got to zoom out a little. Matic was a new coin. We started way down here, so really our lowest level ever was 0.003 of a cent. So it's a third of a cent of its lowest value, and now we're trading at around 1.4 cent and thereabouts. So actually it's still doing very, very well since its release. These corrections, regardless of the Bitcoin and altcoin market, are relatively natural when you consider where we came from, where we went to, and the repercussions of that. I mean, one thing you could look at, if you were to look at Bitcoin on a weekly chart, you would see something similar to this over the last year. This is where it reached 20,000. This would be the equivalent of its around about 6,000 area. That's broken. We're finding new lows. Once we found a bottom, then we can start to recover from that. And that bottom is, nothing's certain, but that bottom is very unlikely to come back down to where it started from here at its lowest level. You can't say that with some other coins. Some of these other coins are finding new lows in comparison to where they've come from just this year. Not many, but some. So really, you put it into perspective, and it actually is doing okay. But short term, it's not doing very well. It's doing exactly the same as most other alts, which is waiting for a bottom to be formed before it makes a recovery. Let's have a look at BitTorrent token. So every single time I come to this chart, and this thing's still here. Sorry about that. So yeah, BitTorrent token actually slightly disappointing really. It was holding up very, very well here, very, very well indeed. It did some big moves, so consolidation is normal, but we're consolidating a little lower now than I expected, and the reason for that is that all this time here, over this last month, we were wavering around in a certain trend that looked like it wanted to move to the up. We are on a daily chart here. Our two main strong levels of support, which were these two areas here, the 11,500 and 12,500, that would be 0.0012, but I'm sure if you follow this coin you know what I mean. So anyway, we broke straight through those. Those are now non-existent supports at the moment. They're probably going to become resistance on the way back up, which is unfortunate. So now we've got 4 levels of main resistance before we start to make our way back up to where we were. That'll probably be harder to achieve than we can sort of give it credit for, because these areas did get broken, but the weight afterwards was too much. We made a high here and a lower high here, and then we've started to make our decline now. So unfortunately for BitTorrent token, we are making new lows, not brand new, but lower lows than over the last month, which is unfortunate for something that was showing relative strength throughout the whole movement of Bitcoin, going up and down. It's obviously could not escape the weight of Bitcoin. So we've got to make those new lows. Those new lows could be as low as 0.00076. Could be as low as that before we find a significant bounce. So that's unfortunate. And the Satoshi value, not really a great deal to look at. We're such low pairing now that we're flickering from as low as 9. We haven't made it at any lower lows than 9, but if we did, that would be tragic. Indicate suggests sideways movement, perhaps a little up and down. Range between, I would say, maybe, let's hope we don't break below 9, but if we did, I wouldn't be surprised if we got to as low as 7. So anything from as low as 7 to as much as 13, which is quite a range, is where we're looking to trend now until this alt season starts, or there's a change in sentiment, or with Bitcoin dominance kind of pulling back. But I'm not sure if I said it on this video or my previous one today on the major alts, but Bitcoin dominance, I believe, should continue to rise, and it'll only start to have a pullback when it reaches around 70% dominance. We're almost 66% dominance at the moment. So that would suggest to me, at the rate that it's going, we've still got a couple of weeks left before bottoms are in and sentiments change. Yeah, I'll leave it with there for the BitTorrent token. So Celr, terrible looking chart really, but trending in the same way that Matic is really, in a way, and not quite as positive as Matic, but similar. So we're looking to put in this bottom now. We're making lower lows still on Satoshi value, which is unfortunate. We're probably going to make an even lower low shortly. We're currently around 108 Satoshis. We're probably going to break beneath that, I would say. We are looking to trend sideways, so we are slowing down, but our moves are amplified by Bitcoin. Bitcoin comes down, Celr comes down, and it comes down at the same speed and at sometimes faster. So the Satoshi values will decrease. We look on the tether pairing, and you can see how that's affected it. We were making okay moves, slow and steady, and above all the moving averages. But recently we've broken beneath the moving averages, are facing down. We're actually finding resistance on most of these moving averages, not even coming up to even begin to test the middle of the Bollinger Band anymore. So yeah, new lows, and new lows are certainly going to be played out on this one with Tether, before we make any decision of if a bottom's in or not. So yeah, still going to make new lows. Probably going to break that 1 cent mark, and educated guess would tell me it could go to well, I'll probably find a significant bounce around 0.009%, so a ninth of a cent before we find a significant bounce on that one. One, so look at how many ones. So this is a very new coin, so very little to go by, but again, same situation, making new lows, finding bounces. I should say though, there is a bounce here. In fact, it looks stronger than Celr. Certainly wanted to trade sideways for the moment. Then if we just check the Satoshi value, yeah, it's looking stronger. So it's looking in a way, it's kind of looking a bit more like Matic rather than Celr. So yeah, a bit more positive on this coin. However, cannot escape the Bitcoin dominance at the moment. We'll have to see how these indicators work out. It does suggest it's still got more to go actually, so perhaps maybe a bottom has been formed with one, and if it hasn't, it will be formed very shortly. We're coming down further than where we even started, so perhaps a bottom could be in, and a recovery could start to take place. We've got to see if these areas get confirmed. We've also got to bear in mind what Bitcoin's planning, which is probably a large and steady descent over the next few weeks as the correction plays out. So yeah, a lot more pain to be had for all of these coins, all altcoins across the board, with the exception of a few lucky ones perhaps. But generally speaking, bottoms are not yet made, and if they have been, they've not been confirmed. So it's a no trade zone for me, I'm not your financial advisor, so I can't give you any financial advice. But for me personally, it's a no trade zone. We need confirmations, and once we've got confirmations, and once I see that Bitcoin dominance chart start to pull back from what I believe to be around 70%, then we can really sort of cherry pick which of these coins we think we're going to do the best. The rule of thumb is that usually the strongest alts move first. So on my previous video, we're looking at some of the stronger alts there. They're likely to move first, but it wouldn't surprise me if these IEO coins moved alongside with them, and probably even faster and higher. So it's an interesting one. We'll have to wait and see how it goes. Anyway, I appreciate you watching. I hope you all have a lovely day, and thanks for subscribing, and yeah, have a great day. Take it easy.